It seems like the whole world is against the Jewish people settling the land of Israel. What about the Jewish settlers in the West Bank? There's so many questions. There's movements like BDS that comes against Israel. Who's right? Do the Jewish people actually have a right to this land according to the Bible or any other reason? Well, today we're going to talk about that. Hi, my name is Cody Archer, and I want to welcome you to this week's Revive Live. I'm so glad that you're joining our conversation today. And as always, we'd love to hear where you're joining us from. Go ahead and write in the comments. We'd love to hear which country you're watching us from. And we love you, our friends around the world. And today I have with me a dear friend, Youval Yanay, who is the leader of Revive Israel. He is a father of 6 children. They live here in Yad Shmona. And Youval, thank you so much for being with me today.
Shalom, Cody. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, and welcome back. You just returned a couple of days ago from your trip to France.
Yes.
And I want to hear about that in a second. But before we jump in and talk about some of the things that are on my heart today, I want to just remind you that here at Revive Israel, we have a weekly email update that gets sent out to thousands of people all around the world. It's translated in about 14 different languages. And you can sign up to receive this. It has videos, it has blogs and updates from our team, and it's going to be a way for you to kind of peer into what's happening here in the land of Israel and what's happening among our team. And we know that this is a blessing to many people around the world, and I know that it'll be a blessing to you as well. So go to our website, reviveisrael.org, and you'll find a place there where you can sign up to receive this weekly update and be encouraged and inspired by the information and the content that we send out every week. And I want to also ask of you, would you like and share this broadcast? This is going to be touching on some hot topics, and I think it's going to be very interesting to you and to many of your friends and family. So go ahead and like this broadcast. And Youval, let's jump in. First of all, let's hear about your time in France, and then we're going to talk about the land of Israel and Jewish people settling here. So you just returned. What were you doing in France?
We spent a week together with precious people. In the beginning of the week, we gathered the translators. These are faithful people that translate for Revive Israel. They translate the teachings, the weekly update that you receive. They translate books. They translate the website. And recently, they also started translating subtitles on videos. And some do it for 14 years.
Wow.
Some for 10 years. And amazing enough, those people never met. They discussed it on the phone. They had WhatsApp. They had text, emails, but they never met face to face.
Yeah, wow.
So we gathered those people to bless them, pray for them. It was an amazing time, very, very deep. Mm-hmm. For them to connect with one another was also great. It was actually the idea of one of the translators.
Beautiful.
She said, "Why don't we all gather?" And so we did it. It was a deep time of prayer, of sharing. Mm-hmm. Actually, we did it in the form of pray, talk, pray.
Ah, nice.
You pray for the person,
then
he speaks and shares, and then you pray for them again. And it's powerful how God is reacting.
Wow.
That was amazing. And then we met with local leaders that are interested in the work we do in France. Mm-hmm. We come to France, like in Israel, to serve. Mm-hmm. So we gathered people that are interested, and that was an amazing and wonderful time. And some other meetings.
Yeah, that's great. You know, you just mentioned the thing about translators, which I wanted to share with our friends. We do have a large number of volunteer translators. We're so appreciative. We're locking arms together with them to reach people in their nation, in their mother tongue, with good news coming out of Israel. And maybe you'd like to be a part of one of these translation teams. Maybe you're gifted in translation. You can speak English and also your own language and have some excitement or some skills in translation. If you would be interested in joining one of our translation teams, we would love that you would join us. You can go ahead and contact us through our website. There'll be a place that you can send us an email and share about yourself, and we'd love to build a relationship with you. So if that's on your heart, we'd love to hear from you. It doesn't matter which language you speak, we have a place for you. So send us an email.
Absolutely.
We'd love to be in touch with you. Now, Youval, I want us to jump in and talk about this issue of the Jewish people settling the land of Israel. And the thing that really jumps out to me, which is something I really love about you, a number of years ago, you started talking about this word, Yeshua, in Hebrew, which you can unpack for us. It's not an easy word to translate directly into English. But the thing that about you is you have such a Jewish mindset of the practical earthly things. Me as a Gentile coming from the nations, it's easy for me to connect with things in heaven and angels and Yeshua in heaven and his coming out of the heavens. And when I started hearing you talk about some of these biblical concepts like circumcision and that's importance in the Jewish world and this hityashvut, which we're going to talk about, it was like I was hearing things I'd never heard before. And I believe it's going to be the same for many of our friends around the world today who are going to hear you talk about this. So first of all, let's hear, what is this word hityashvut?
Hityashvut. Well, hityashvut actually is derived of the root yud shin bet, yashav, which means lashevet, to sit. Simply to sit. This is how it's used. But hityashev is in a form that means to sit yourself. And the meaning of the way it's built in Hebrew grammar is that hityashvut has to do with the land. It has to do with settling, with sitting down, which means relaxing, which means saying, I'm here. I am in my place. I found a place that is mine. And here is where I sit. And so hityashvut is actually, if you want, it's a name of an action. To lehityashev, to do it. So the action itself of settling is hityashvut.
Okay, now unpack for us, what's the context? When is this word used in the Bible?
Well, in the Bible, it's used when Joshua is leading the people of the children of Israel, the people of Israel, to the promised land, and then they're settling down there. And as I understand also, Yeshua, the name of Jesus in Hebrew, and Yehoshua is basically the same name. And the whole book of Joshua is actually an image, a pre-image of Yeshua leading the people of God to take the promised land.
Yeah.
So Yehoshua is leading only the generation after the desert to take only the small piece of land that is now called Israel, the land of Canaan, that was promised by God. But in the end times, we will see the fulfillment of this when Yeshua, the Son of God and the Son of David, will lead all the believers to take all the planet that is promised to us by God.
Yeah, now you're jumping ahead a little bit here. I wanted you to touch on, first of all, some people in the world say the Jews have no place living here in Israel.
Yeah.
There's another group of people say, they can live in the agreed upon lines, from the 1970 or 67 borders. Some would say there should be no Jewish people in the West Bank. There should be a Palestinian state. Is there biblical evidence or proof that the Jewish people should actually be building homes and settling here in this land? Or are they just kind of trying to take over the world?
Yeah, well, there are many. But I want to focus today on a certain prophecy that usually is not used in this way. And I think you will love it. I'm reading from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 32, and verse 15. And the Hebrew says, Ki cho amar Adonai tzvaot Elohei Israel, od yikanu vatim v'sadot uchramim ba'aretz hazot. And the translation is, thus says, or this is what says, Adonai tzvaot, the God of Israel. Houses and fields and vineyards will be bought again in this land. Now the context is the war. The Babylonian army is sieging Jerusalem. The prophecy is that Jerusalem will fall. And God tells Jeremiah to buy a field. And Jeremiah does it in a very legal way. He makes a contract and he brings the witness. And he weighs the money, the silver. And he puts the contract in a jar. And who buys land just before an enemy army is going to take over? That actually began the big exile, the Babylonian exile.
That's true. Yeah.
Who buys land? Who takes the silver that you can actually use in exile when you're deported? And you give it to somebody else for land that for sure you know, and as a prophet Jeremiah knew that the land is going to be taken.
Yeah.
Who does it? Why did he do it? And why did he do it in such a literal, legal way, with a contract and witness, everything by the book?
Mm-hmm.
And what I believe is this means that the prophecy here is I take it personally. The prophecy here that one day fields and homes and vineyards will be bought in this land, in the land of Israel, in a literal, physical, real way. And this comes now. And so as I can even say that I read this prophecy and I say, God promises me a house in the land of Israel. How is God going to bring this prophecy to pass? Angels are going to come down and they're going to buy houses? Someone needs to buy a house.
Yes.
And so you may say, yeah, but this already happened. But if we look one chapter before that, chapter 31, the prophecy in chapter 31 is when God promises the promise of the new covenant to the house of Judah and the house of Israel. He says, one day will come and I will, in Hebrew, cut, or I will make a new covenant with the house of Judah and the house of Israel. And when this will happen, and I will write it on their heart, and only if the sun will stop and the sea will stop, and you can measure the depth of the sea, or the stars will disappear. Only then Israel will cease to be a nation for me forever and ever. And so, an immediate chapter after that, we have the prophecy about the fields and the houses. So one way to understand it is that when the heart of Israel will come back to God and will receive the new covenant as promised in chapter 31, then homes will be bought and vineyards and fields will be bought in the land of Israel immediately after that. That's one way, and this is how I see it.
Yes. So now what I'm hearing then is you say, yes, Jewish people, according to these prophecies, the Hebrew scriptures, have a biblical right to be here in the land of Israel, to buy homes, to build homes, fields, vineyards, etc. Now, then would you say that those who are against this idea and say, no, the Jewish people shouldn't, is that just because they're disagreeing with God's word?
I would say they disagree with the fact that God's promises and prophecies must be fulfilled in reality. And this is one of the prophecies.
Yes.
And at that time, it was impossible. And interesting enough, in verse 17, Jeremiah, after he did that, and he bought he got the book, the contract, and he put the contract in the jar, and he prays to God. He said, well, I did it. My money's gone. And he said, you made the heavens. You made the earth with your great power. Nothing is impossible for you.
Wow.
And this is where this sentence comes from, that maybe you have it in your kitchen, on a piece of ceramics, or on a magnet on the refrigerator. It speaks about the land of Israel. It speaks about the land of Israel in a very literal way. Contracts will be signed. And I think he's speaking about believers.
Yeah. That's good. Well,
believers will buy homes, believers will buy lands, and believers will buy vineyards, and they will sign contracts, and there will be witnesses, and they will weigh silver and will give it, and the prophecy is in action. Is happening now.
Wow, that's so good. So let's talk about that. What if you believe then, as believers in Yeshua, you're a Jewish man, you have a biblical right to build and buy land here. What are the obstacles for you to actually do that?
Well, first of all, is that Israel is a very funny country. It is the only country in the world where missiles fall and suicide terrorists explode in buses, and we're surrounded with enemies, but the prices of real estate go up
that's true.
Quickly. In any other war zone like it is here,
Yeah.
those prices will drop quickly.
Yes.
But here, it doesn't matter. I believe this is another proof. So the price is a lot. Most of the people in Israel cannot buy a house from their salary. It's difficult. No one.
Yeah.
And it's a big issue. It's coming elections. That would be a serious issue.
Yes.
Could the government provide a way to reduce the price of homes for families? Families live in the same apartment as the parents. They cannot afford it. So the first thing is weigh the silver. We need to weigh the silver. We need to have the money.
Yeah.
And that is, I believe, a mission. A mission to help Messianic Jews in Israel to buy homes for their families according to the prophecy here,
Yeah.
sign contracts in a legal way, and buy a home, have their name signed, and that's a prophecy. So that's the first obstacle.
Yeah. That's good. Is there others that you can think of?
Well, it depends because not everyone will sell a Messianic Jew. In some areas we're not accepted.
Yeah.
But as I believe we should live in communities, we should gather, as persecution exists, but not in a major way. We're not beaten up in the streets.
Yeah.
But as we can live in communities, we can educate our children together, we can be together. So we should be in communities.
Yeah.
This place, Yad HaShmona, this Moshav Revive Israel is based in, it was an idea of believers from Finland that came in the 70s, after the 6 Days War, when actually this land came to the hands of Israel. After the 6 Days War, Jerusalem is united. All the Arab countries that attacked us, we actually took the land from them in a miraculous way. The hand of God allowed it. But those believers from Finland wanted to claim a piece of the land for Jesus.
Wow.
You see, no one claims and says that's a believing place. This is a place where the name of Yeshua will be proclaimed. This is the place, the only place maybe in Israel, when you shout from your window, Yeshua Melech, Jesus is Lord, you will hear amen from all the other windows. That's maybe the only place. And so I would say, let's gather together in communities, buy land, and claim this land, piece after piece, for the Lord.
That's good. Now, what would you say to our friends now watching all around the world? They're like, that's nice for the Jewish people in the land of Israel. For us, maybe in Singapore or in Canada or somewhere else in the world, this isn't really relevant to us. Is there a certain attitude that we should have as believers concerning buying or purchasing property, building homes, or just being a renter?
Well, as I said before, Israel is a pre-image of the people of God. Israel are the people of God, and the church is an extension of the same prophecy. And so you come into the commonwealth of Israel when you go through the water of baptism. You become co-heirs, co-inheritors. Now, okay, so you would say, so we all go quickly and buy land in Israel. No, no, no. You're not becoming Israel. You're not becoming Jews.
Yeah.
You don't have to change who you are. But do the same in your country. Claim the land for the Lord. Buy homes. Start proclaiming the name of Jesus with authority. I am the landlord. I am the owner of this vineyard.
Yes.
And I proclaim the name of Jesus over my land. In Thailand, in Japan, in United States, in Afghanistan, in Africa, in Europe. And start saying, yes, we buy land. We have the money. We can do it. We save money. We work hard. And we purchase real estate for the Lord.
Yes. So good. Now we're just coming to the end of our time. I got one more last tough question for you that's really sensitive. What would you, as an Israeli Jewish believer in Yeshua, say to the Palestinians? You're sitting with a Palestinian who says, no, this land is ours. You as a Jew don't have a right. We were here before you. What would you say to them?
Well, first of all, I would say to them that I love them. One thing that the Palestinians and the Arabs around us are actually our cousins, if you want. They carry some reality and truth and culture that was in the tent of Abraham that we lost.
Yeah.
We lost in exile. We came back with so many other cultures in us. And so when maybe the greatest joy for us as Messianic Jews in Israel is to sit together with the Palestinian saved that believes in Yeshua and sit together and have communion. That's maybe the greatest joy.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would say to them, Islam is not your home. Come back. Come back to the tent of Abraham. Come back to the God of Abraham. Come back to the God of Israel, and the door is open for everyone, and especially for you. So that's one thing. But then I would say to them, who would you like to rule the land? Look around us. And actually ask the Palestinians, that live in Israel, would you like, as an Arab that lives in Israel, would you like this government to change? And then let's say we have, Syrian government, Lebanese government, Jordanian government, Egyptian government, or the Hamas maybe? You want to be like in Gaza? What do you really want? Let's say one day I don't mean it, but let's say one day we take your city or village where you live and we give it back. Would you like it? Yeah. And they would say no.
Yeah.
They know deep down in their hearts that actually Israel is the one and only country in the Middle East where they have real freedom. People say we have apartheid in Israel. The president, one of the presidents of Israel, Moshe Katsav, sits in jail. You know why? Because of sexual harassment and because rape. You know who was the head of the court that sent the president of Israel to jail? He was Muslim. A Muslim judge. Apartheid?
Wow.
And you want to go on the other side? Just a few years ago, who was Miss Israel? A Muslim. So come on, apartheid? You really think so? This is the one and only country in the world where you have freedom of religion for Muslims. They can change to whatever religion they like.
Yeah.
They can go to whatever mosque they like. I serve as a volunteer in the police. So many Muslims serve with me.
Yeah.
Armed. So come on, what do you mean apartheid?
Yeah.
So I believe no Arab that lives in Israel would want to live under another government but the Jewish government. So I would say, help us.
Yeah.
First of all, I said to them, come on guys, leave this Islam thing alone. That's not who you should be. This is not prosperity for you.
Yeah.
Come back. Come to the God of Israel. The door is open for you. And even if not, just admit that the Jews are the best rulers of this land. And that it's good for you as well.
Yeah.
If we could have Arab believers, Muslim background believers, Muslims that came to faith, if we could have them in the government in Israel, I would love that. These are wonderful people.
Yes.
They have our values.
Yeah.
I don't have words to express how much I love them.
Yeah, that's good.
So I said the door is open. Build homes. Stay here. Leave this terror, all this violence, all this stuff. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
And enjoy the freedom that Israel gives you.
Yeah, so good. Well, Youval, we're out of time, but that was a great answer, really interesting subject and conversation today. Thank you for your time today. And thank you guys also for joining us today, joining in on our conversation. Also, thank you for some of the shares and the likes, even the comments that some of you left. We want to greet you in America and Italy and Albania and others of you that have already written in this broadcast right now. We love hearing from you. And we look forward to having you join us on our conversation next week on Revive Live. I'll see you then.